Welcome to CV Hustle, the podcast created to educate, inform, and inspire entrepreneurship here in our Coachella Valley.
All right, hello everybody. I'm Robert Meraz.
And I'm Fina Meraz.
And this is CV Hustle, a podcast dedicated to guiding and inspiring entrepreneurship here in the Coachella Valley. And today we're real blessed, nothing but illustrious guests on this show. We're blessed to have a guest host, the legend himself, Mr. Desert Underground, Coachella Angel, Mr. Angel Chavez. Thank you for joining us in the show today.
Thank you guys. Thank you for letting me be part of the first episode too.
Absolutely,
man. Well, you kind of inspired us to kind of seeing what you've done, and just to give you guys a little background. Me and Angel go way back. Actually, I'm old enough to have coached him in high school football. So, he's been seeing what he's done has been a real inspiration to me. Even as I'm growing my business, to go, hey man, this guy doing some major things in the music world. So, he was, truth be told, he was kind of an inspiration for this show. So we wanted to involve him in it, and we're blessed to have you here, man. So thank you for coming.
No, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Coach.
Yeah, no problem, man.
I still call you Coach, even after these years.
I know, even after all these years, that's one title I love to hear, man, 'cause it's a title of respect. But you are here, but we have to say, today's episode is the first episode of CV Hustle, and we wanted to, give you guys a reason to actually, hey, why should I even listen to these guys, So, the main focus of today's program is going to be my co-host to the left here, the beautiful and talented Fina Meraz, the queen of tile, the diva of design.
Oh my gosh, what the
Miss
hell?
Tile Designs by Fina
love
herself, Fina Meraz.
Hey Bob, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. So, if you were into design, in the design world, or even doing anything with the hard surfaces, this girl, and this is the podcast for you. You want to listen to this episode because we're going to kind of go over the origin story today, right, guys?
Yeah, I think we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty and talk about where it all started. Had no idea where it was going, but where we're at today. So I think it's going to be a great episode.
And so how was let's take it to the beginning.
All right.
Can you tell us a little about your backstory, just where you started here in the Coachella Valley, or...
Yep, I've been born and raised here, and I always throw in a little unfortunately because I need to get out and see the world, right? That's how I feel. But I grew up with two older brothers, a single mom, and we lived in an apartment our whole lives, right in Coachella. And what else? I don't know.
Religion.
I grew up a Jehovah's Witness, believe it or not. So that's why I cuss a lot today. I will say that. It was pent up all those years. But we went to church 3 times a week, religiously, no pun intended. But I went to CV High School, and but always knew that, that there was something out there bigger for me, I guess you can say. But didn't go to college, and partly of that part of the reason of that is because the religion really shies away from that and any kind of furthering yourself, which I didn't really know, right? But at the age of 18, literally I turned 18 and I was like, bye mom, and she came home one day from work and I was gone.
Oh, wow. At 18?
At 18. I moved into one of my friends, Paul's, had a little studio. His mother had just passed away, and he had a little studio in Coachella, and I moved in there with my other friend, and we worked at Little Caesars Pizza, so, and kind of away we went, I just kind of started living my life, and I didn't want to go to church anymore, so.
And what made you see the church for, or what made you step out of that whole ecosystem?
That's a deep. I might start crying on that one. Well, I have 2 older brothers, and they both got baptized into the church, right? And one of my my oldest brother is gay, and my other brother was on drugs. So, the religion, of course, does not like that, and so they were disfellowshipped. And what that meant was nobody in my family could talk to them. My mom couldn't talk to them. It was just a really weird thing. So we were always kind of the black sheep of the family because my mom had 2 sons that were disfellowshipped. My mom came to me when I was 14 and said, I want you to get baptized, and I said, hell no, lady. I told her, I know I'm a bad seed. I know I'm going to date. I know I'm going to play sports. I know I'm going to do these things, and I do not want to end up like my brothers. And I don't want my family, not talking to me and things like that. So I think around that time is when I really started understanding what was going on. So
you went from working at Little Caesars. And how does like that journey, like, do you ever think like, oh, one day I'm going to be owning my own business and doing all these cool things? Or how was like your beginning with entrepreneurship?
I think it started very early. I was a young girl living with my mom, and we had like this shed where we lived, and we used to play store. Me and my friend Veronica, I'd play store, I'd price things out, or we'd have a drive-through. I was always selling something as a kid. I was always making wreaths and things and selling them and what have you, and I just love design. Like in my bedroom, I had literally like 6 or 7 mattresses stacked up high because I wanted my bed. I'm just weird shit, right?
Yeah.
But my mom let me do it, so that was kind of cool. I kind of forgot my train of thought though. He said
entrepreneurship.
No, but he said something about how did I get started, or
no? Do you ever think of like because you started working at Little Caesars, but like your entrepreneurial journey, so you started selling stuff on selling things you made with your friend and stuff. And
another thing was almost every job I worked at, I got fired from because I have a big mouth, and I'm very vocal, and so a lot of people don't like that, right? And I understand it now. I just, that's kind of my personality, and so I was like, well, if I own my own business, I can't get fired from that. So, let's try that, but should I go into the whole Karen thing? Or?
Is that your first business, like the towel by Fina, or do you have other businesses before getting into the towel world, or how? Or
well, I mean, we kind of started a little bit of with selling properties. So I would say like we have a real estate company that
but you got to tell like the cool backstory of TDBF and how it really started.
Okay, where do you want me to start with that?
Well, I mean, obviously you got to start from You worked in it, you're working for Ron Field's Tile, right?
Oh,
and
God.
you take it way back. We want to hear the genesis,
the backstory.
So I was
of all of it.
I was a part-time student at COD, learning criminal justice, which helped me get out of a ticket. Remember that?
Good for something. It's good for something.
Bobby was so pissed, but anyway. So
wait, tell me that story. How did you get a ticket?
I had read somewhere can you follow the letter of the law, which means like you're by the book, everything has to go, or the spirit of the law, right? So we got pulled over because I did something in a parking lot I wasn't supposed to do or something. We were out of town, we were kind of lost, and I got pulled over, and Bobby was like, the cops, you say cops, and Bobby, he gets like, ugh.
I've never gotten out of a ticket, by the way.
And then, he starts getting flashbacks,
I'm going to jail.
So I'm like, just be quiet. Let me take care of this, So the cop comes up to the window, and I say, so, officer, can I ask you a question? Do you believe in the spirit of the law? And he was like, how did you know that? How did you hear that? And I said, I'm taking classes, yada, yada. And then we just kind of got along and got off with the all right, have a nice day kind of thing. Keep going to class, kid.
Oh, that's sick.
Woo, yeah. But so I was going to school. I needed a part-time job, and one of my friend's moms was like, hey, we just need somebody to come answer phones. All right, fine. So I went and worked for Ron Field's Tile, and he had a place in Cathedral City. And he wanted to move out to Thousand Palms because it was cheaper out there. He found a bigger place and everything. And what he did primarily was did installations. But he did installations for a company called ISI. And he had all his eggs in one basket with this one company. And immediately I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. Why would you, these guys don't have any work. That means we have no work, right? And so people would call down to our place, hey, can you come install tile? And he would turn those
all
jobs
side
away.
jobs, yeah.
Yeah, and it blew my mind. And Bobby we were together at that time, and I used to go, this guy's stupid. Like, I can't, sorry, Ron, but you know what I mean? It just, I saw the writing on the wall and said, I got to find another job. So the next job was even worse. I mean, I guess it was kind of.
Well, it was all stepping stones in your career, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Which
you
don't really know at the time, but
this is a little bit more high end. Design based, and this is where you really flourished.
And
right?
and I went to work for a lady, and I was going to do her books. I wasn't going to do any sales or anything, or design. Right? I had no idea. But when I started doing her books, I found out she was $100,000 in debt with the state board. So they were calling. They were going to close our asses down any minute, right? We would get paid on a job. I used to have to go to the bank and cash the check and get my paycheck. It was crazy.
Oh, because it was gonna bounce or something. Yeah.
Or no, the state board was going to capture any of that money and pay themselves, right? They're like, hey, you owe us so much money.
Right, that was the bad, but now we got to tell about the good, You got into the high-end world.
Let me touch a little bit on, so I used to go out, I don't know why, but she would take me out with her on jobs, and we would talk with the homeowners, and she would be saying, oh, let's do this, let's do that, and then the owner, I don't know why, but the homeowners would ask me, like, what do you think? And I'd say, well, I think I would do this and this and that, and then half the time they would go with what I had suggested, and so then I would see the installation, and I thought, God, it looks pretty good to me, right? So that kind of built up my confidence a little bit. Hey, anyway, so one day we purchased a lot from Mission Tile West, and I'll always be thankful to them because they really taught me how to run a business. We used to purchase from them, so she had a conversation with them, I'm sure, about, hey, they're going to close my ass down any day now. And the next thing you knew, she went from owner to employee. And I was stoked because they kept me on, right? And I didn't change my pay. I had 3 kids to feed at the time, right? So I was like, oh, thank God I still have my job. But of course, after 30 days, she was like, I can't do this. You can't go from owner to employee and love it, right?
Yeah.
So 30 days, she was like, peace out, and she left. And she's hated me ever since.
Oh, wow.
Whatever, to each their own. But so I kind of was stuck like, whoa, okay, I'm running the show now. And they did bring some other girl in from Pomona or what have you, and she would drive every day from Pomona to come and help me. So I worked for them for 7 years. And then we moved over to a different location, but this was during like 2006, 2007. One day, that's when the market started just crashing.
Housing
Everything started.
crashed.
We were like, whoa, there was like no sales coming through the door, right? And but our margins were also very high for the desert, and I think they were trying to take, Mission Tile was taking their approach from the LA market.
Yeah, it's a totally different market.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Totally different market.
Yeah, and then kind of applying it here. Well, it didn't work. It doesn't work like that here in the desert, right? So
what's the difference between like the LA market and the desert? Just like a quick, or that you've seen?
The LA market, I think people are just willing to spend a lot more money.
And they don't shop as much because if you go to their showrooms, you have to pay for parking. You
gotta find parking.
Yeah, it's not like you're gonna just drive across town in 5 minutes and you gotta deal with traffic. I think that has to do
I think
with
you gotta
too.
deal with traffic. Who wants to deal with traffic?
Spot, it's like, okay, let's just get this done.
But it's also a lot more people too.
Yeah,
so it's just
I think
more volume.
There's something to that, they don't want to go and drive.
You almost have to be like, okay, so we're gonna get this done. We have to go here.
Absolutely.
Plan your days.
Sure, but you also have to remember they've been doing this for 20 years, so they also have had an established business out in LA. They were new to the desert, right? So the desert's like, what you're charging what for the whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, where was I?
You're just about to get
to the nitty-gritty.
You were about to get your final check at
So during my time, I was always telling the girls, like, I wish I could have my own store and that kind of thing, and I've always kind of knew that. And as they say, put it out to the universe, and the universe heard me, and I got fired.
Well, it wasn't really that you got
I didn't get fired, but
closed the store.
Well, so
because they were go ahead. But.
Right. So so one day, it was a sunny, beautiful day. No, I'm just kidding. And I got there at 8:30, And they were already there, like the main guy, Thano, and then Tisa was there, who was she was kind of my mentor, and I still love her to this day. She was awesome. And one of their like warehouse guys, and like some other guy, right? And I walk in and I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing here? And they're like, oh, we're closing our showroom. Here's your last paycheck.
Oh, wow.
And I go, what? Yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh. In my head, I feel so responsible for this store, right? Because I'm managing this store, and I have all of these orders going on. The phones are ringing, like they're answering the phones, like we're closing our place down, so you need to pick up your stuff this week, or you go pick it up in South Pasadena.
Oh, wow.
And I was not allowed to even take a freaking pen off my desk. I had to just basically get my shit and walk out.
Yeah. Pretty cutthroat.
Right. And then we had 2 other employees, right? So they walked in and same thing happened to them. So me and those 2 girls, we went out to breakfast to CJ's Diner, and we were all having breakfast, and I said, they all said to me, well, now you can start your store. And I was like, I know, I should, right? But I had no idea where to start.
Where to even begin, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I really didn't. But what was kind of cool was, and that I didn't realize myself, was I think that it happened on a Monday. By the end of that week, I had 4 job offers. And Dell's Flooring was one of them. And
nice.
There was all these other people. And I called them all back, and they all wanted me to work for them or with them. So I figured, I must have something that they want, right? I don't know what it was. But I ended up working for Dell's Flooring because he was going to pay me the most money. And I had 3 kids to feed at home, right? So I went to work for him for 6 weeks and fucking hated it.
With Jay?
With Jay. I love Jay. I love Jay.
Shout out to Jay.
Shout out Jay.
Hey, Jay Bernardi. But yeah, he could be a little hardcore. And you got to remember, I was used to running the show.
Yeah.
Right? And now all of a sudden I had daddy over my shoulder. Oh, can I do this? And I was like, I'm so not that person. I don't want to ask for permission, goddammit. I want to ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so during those 6 weeks, why don't you tell them the story about Bobby went and made me business cards, like in chinga, right? Real quick, like, okay, here. Because we knew that I needed my clients to call me with any questions.
Yeah, they had to find you.
I just felt so responsible for these jobs, you know? And so Bobby went and made me business cards, and what'd you do?
I put them on the door of the old
You pushed them in between the
old
doors?
showroom. I pushed them right there, so if people came inside locked, they could just take the card and find you.
And then I got a phone call.
That would lead to a referral or whatever job came out of that.
And then I got a phone call from Thano, who owns Mission Tile West, and said, why are your cards in our doors? And I said, well, because if anybody has any oh, no, you're just trying to ride our coattails.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And I was like, what the fuck? Honey, I am Mission Tile West down here in the desert, in case you didn't know. Like, I am the face of your company. And I was very offended by that, because I was like, nothing could be further than the truth. I was concerned about my clients and like their projects, anyway. So that was
But that little fire in your belly did.
Oh, yeah.
Because soon after, tell her what our lunches were like during that time where you were working for somebody else.
Okay.
That's what I remember most about that time.
Why don't you tell them?
Well, I would just come pick you up for lunch, and you'd be miserable. You'd be like, I don't want to work for nobody else. I want to do this myself. And me being the, financial conservative that I am, I punched the numbers. I'm like, babe, we got like $3,000 in the savings account.
$2,000.
I don't even think we can't afford to open anything right now.
Babe, we're broke.
We're broke. I'm the only one that had a job there for a while. So, but I think me just seeing you and how happy you were, every day. I go pick you up for lunch, and you're just like, I can't do this.
I can't do it.
I'm like, okay, well, that kind of started me to think, okay, well, how can we do this?
Well, you're forgetting.
Really you that pushed.
But you're forgetting something. So during those 6 weeks that I worked for Jay, I had clients calling me, hey, I need you to design 3 bathrooms. Hey, I need you to do a fireplace. Hey, I need, and I'm just like, okay. So I had to go shopping at all the tile showrooms around here, right? And number one, they hated me because I was already their competition. So in a way, I think that they were like, oh God, look who's walking in our door, right?
Yeah.
And I had one of them even say to me like, hey, if you find the product here, please make sure you buy it here. And I was like, I've got integrity, honey. If I'm shopping in your store and I'm using your time, I will buy from you. I don't play that shit.
Yeah.
So anyway, so during those 6 weeks, I had to go shopping at all these stores that fucking sucked. By the way, they just were not what I was looking for. And Mission Tile's known to have like the best decoratives, the most unique, gorgeous tiles in the world, right? And so that's what I was used to. They had 200 different tile lines.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, that's huge. And so during those 6 weeks, I was like, I told him, like, what am I going to do? We got to do something about this. So I went and walked my happy ass over to, should I say her name? Yeah. So to a friendly competitor of mine. And her name's Barbara Taylor. I love her dearly. She had her own. She had her own little store. And I went to her and I said, "Listen, can I please work out of your showroom? I have people, calling me, and I need somewhere to work out of. And like, let's work something out. I'm happy to give you a piece of the pie, whatever I'm bringing in or what have you. Like, can we work this out?" And she said, "You know what? Let me think about it, and I'll call you tomorrow." I said, "Okay." So I was like, on pins and needles, right? Because I could finally see the light at the end of the tunnel, like, yes. How could she say no? Right?
Well, you're bringing in business. It's just like,
yeah, right? Absolutely. And so the next day she calls me and says, I've thought about it, and no, I want to work by myself. I like being in my own place by myself. She says, but you know what? Why don't you just go get like a little $600 or go get a little showroom yourself and just start your own thing? Mm-hmm. And like, whoa. And I said to Bobby, that's it.
The light bulb went off, didn't it?
Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
Like just so stupid. I just, and I was like, and so I said, she's right. And so, I do not let anything wait. And that's a good thing and bad thing, but thanks. Shout out to my ADHD. Right. So let me think.
I mean,
what
you
happened?
had to convince me, right? I was the one dragging our feet for a little while.
Yeah.
Just because
So I found a place. It was on a little cornered lot on Sago Lane, 600 square feet, one just big room with the bathroom. And I said to Bobby, like, we got to get this place. It's perfect. It's right around the corner from Mission Tile West. Like, it's perfect. And he goes, well, how much is it? And I go, it's $600 a month. And what's the deposit? $600. So it's $1,200. We only had $2,000 in our savings account.
Yeah.
Right? And of course he had his paycheck, but yeah, we still have rent. We still have
we have 3 kids.
We have all these things.
We have a lot of expenses.
And he was just like, he was so scared. He was so scared. And
it's terrifying. I mean, from going to, steady income every 2 weeks, exactly what you're going to get, to going, oh, I'm just going to take this leap of faith and maybe it will make money, maybe we won't, and just like I said, it was to me, her hardest sell was me, because I was like, I put everything on paper. I did the spreadsheet, I come from an accounting background, so numbers are my thing. And I was like, okay, well, we have to make this. Can you make this? And she was like, I think so. I'm like, do you think so, or do you know so? I'm like, because this is what we have to make in order for us to like survive and, live the lifestyle, our lavish lifestyle at the time. It's like just to pay your mortgage, So, for me, that was the hardest sell. Once she got me to kind of buy in, I think it was off to the races. But I was really the one, like, okay, let's
make sure it makes sense first.
Let's do this. Let's put it all. And she's the type.
Let's just do it. It's gonna work out. It's gonna work out.
I believe in myself. Let's go. Anything I do is gonna work. That's how I see it. Right?
Do you think growing up, because you didn't grow up with a lot of money, do you think that kind of contributed to your?
Oh, because I didn't give. I was like, I've been broke before, no problem.
And I think that's an advantage in entrepreneurship, is coming up from not much, because you're not scared to take risks.
It's all upside. Go back
to zero. I've been at zero, and I'm not scared of it. So I think people that do come from more humble backgrounds are better for entrepreneurship, because they got nothing to lose, really. Right?
You're saying we're hungry.
I'm just saying, like, you had, that was something you pushed me to kind of see that, like, because I was like, terrified, and you were like,
yeah, you were terrified.
But you were like, hey, we've been broke. We've been broke before. It's not gonna be no different if we're broke, on our own terms.
Let me just try it.
Yeah, and
try
you're broke on
your
your own terms at that point. You're the master of your own destiny.
With our Airbnb, I said, let's try it too.
Well, that's a different story.
Okay, well, anyway, I know, but okay, so Bobby, so I ended up getting the place, right? We were like, God, do we even have good credit? Can we even rent a place, right?
I
At
was
that
surprised
point,
we could even rent a place at that point.
but once I got the green light from Roberto over here, it was on. I started calling all my vendors, and we took furniture from our garage that was like just holding shit,
holding the
and
Christmas ornaments
dusting
and
that
stuff,
off.
right? Yeah.
It didn't match. We put that in the showroom. His brother came and hung up cleats
we learned
for
how
me.
to cleat into the walls.
Yep.
Yeah,
We
had to come in and do
one of my clients gave me a desk.
Yeah.
We went and bought a table off Craigslist for $50 because it was like, yes, that's $50.
Decent table for $50,
Right.
right?
And it was great. I had some vendors who I will always be.
What year was this?
2013. Yeah, I was like, hey. So it was like, how do you start a business, right? So one of my vendors who I called, he goes, you want to know the secret to starting your business? And I go, yeah, tell me. He goes, just starting your business. Just do it. So I went down to the city of Palm Desert, got myself a business license. We had to put our name in the paper. We had to, so it was all of those little steps that, went to go open up a bank account. Bobby got me an EIN number. So it's just all those little things that you're like, okay, here we go. We've got business cards. Oh shit, now I need a website, so we just slowly. His parents bought me my first logo sign that was outside on my door. Like that was like huge, that was like $250 I didn't have at the time, So it was like, I'm legit. Yeah. We had to get, phones turned on, all of that stuff. But and vendors that I knew were just like, yeah, you can just have whatever you want.
So for those vendors that just give you all the samples and then just so that way they could sell the product.
Absolutely, because they knew.
So you just called everybody,
Hey, I'm starting my own business. They had already heard what Mission Tile did.
Yeah.
Some were like, oh well, and some were like, oh, we feel really bad for you. And I'm like, no, you know what? I hope that this is going to be like a blessing in disguise. So one person, Oceanside Glass, gave me like gorgeous samples, right? And they knew I could sell their product, and I had been selling their product for 7 years before that. But so I had them up on the wall, and people just started, I started calling designers. Hey, I just opened up my own business. Come please, come take a look at my place. Or is there anything you're working on that you need? Oh yeah, I might need, a couple tiles for this shower. All right, let me go find it, right? So then I would I could do that at the time where I could get out and do it. So we just started selling, and the next thing you know, I realized I didn't have a freaking warehouse.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was the best part. I was like, my poor husband.
Having me bad flashbacks right now.
Yeah. So then what happens, right? The orders start coming in, and I'm like, oh shit, where am I going to put them?
Yeah.
Duh. And so I was like, well, guess what? So we started stacking stuff in my bathroom. We started stacking stuff at the front entry. Yeah. And so Bobby would come on his lunch breaks and come break down pallets for me.
And tile's heavy, bro,
Yeah, for
sure.
Those
pallets are not easy to break down.
At least there was no 24 by 48s at that time.
It's lucky I was a lot younger back then. My back didn't go out.
Yeah.
If I had to do that today, I don't think I'd make it.
Good workout.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a good workout. I was exhausted after lunch.
He didn't even want to come
to
lunch anymore.
I was like, I'll stay at the office.
He's like, how many pallets you got today?
Yeah, how many orders we got to break down today? So, but that's what you had to do to get it done,
Yeah, but what was great was a couple doors down in that little strip mall that I had rented was a upholsterer. Shout out to American Upholstery.
That's right.
And I walked over there one day, and we were friends, right? We would all see each other, and Palm Desert Carpets was there as well. And I said to him, like, do you use all your warehouse? Because he had a warehouse.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, and I just said, can I have like a little portion of your warehouse and, charge me? He goes, all right, $200. I go, perfect. So now all of my orders started going to his warehouse. Yeah. I mean, I like look back and go, what the fuck were we thinking? But you honestly, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, it was.
We just made it work, and that was it. It was just, so then we started kind of going, okay, I can't keep staying here.
Yeah.
Right? I need a.
You outgrew the space pretty quick.
Absolutely. And it
Really.
was what.
We didn't even finish our lease over there.
We did not finish our
We
lease.
didn't finish the 1-year lease over there.
We actually paid both
We're paying
places.
both at the
So
same
what
time.
happened was what Bobby was like super. So when we first started, his parents are dentists, right? And they had been sole proprietors forever. So we opened up as a sole proprietor. Okay. Well, I had no idea what.
Which is a business structure, by the way.
Correct.
Yeah.
But the taxes, I had no idea what we were going to get slapped with. But here, we'll get to that in a minute. But where am I going with this?
We outgrew the space in less than a year, paying 2 rents.
So what I was going to say is like we started getting all these. Oh, do you remember the check that I took to Joey?
Oh.
Okay.
Shout out to our banker, Joey.
Joey Jimenez.
Hooked it up.
Okay.
You might get him in
We
trouble
might need
for
to-
that one, though.
No. We might need to cut this into the beginning. But I was working like just out of nowhere. I was going to his office using his fax machine. I had bought like a book of purchase orders and was just writing them out and like opening accounts with like
Doing
Bedrosians or
things
what
very
have you.
old school on paper.
Oh yeah.
Couldn't afford QuickBooks back then.
So I had an $8,000 check that I had gotten from a client, and I was like, how am I going to cash this? Right? I need to buy materials. So I called, hey, Joey, I need to open up a bank account like now. And I don't know what he did, but he was like, come on down. We'll get, I'll cover you. So we went, he cashed the check for me, and away we went. And that's just how it all started. I was able to buy materials and then give my clients their materials and then, have obviously a profit from that. And what me and Bobby always think about was, we had $2,000 in our savings account. And so once we started getting like $5,000, we were like, dang, we're rich. We're balling, man. Like, that's awesome. And they were like, $10,000. Oh my God, can you believe we have $10,000? And then we'd hit $20,000. And we just kept going up and up. And I was like, dude, we have $100,000 in the bank. Like, what the fuck? What's going on? Is it pinch me? Like, this is crazy. But one thing that like Tisa told me, because she was my mentor from Mission Tile West, she was like, they make bank, right? They have 3 stores and they all do very well. So she told me, never spend everything that you make. And that always stuck with me. And because like I always say I'm a really good student. Like if you tell me to do something that's going to better myself, I'm going to do it. And so we just saved and saved and saved our money. Well, thank God, because then tax time came rolling around.
Oh,
well, we did set ourselves up with Gus Gonzalez, because that's who he used to do business with at the payroll company he worked for.
He really helped us in the early going.
Yeah.
So shout out to Gus. Thank you for all
Yeah.
that.
And he was kind of our guiding light, because we had no idea, right, what to do. And he was really influential in the fact that he was like, you guys should open up different accounts. And like have a tax account, have your main account, and have like a whatever account, right? Or like equipment account or something.
Account, all that fun
stuff. So all that money, like for taxes, I would just save, and then I'd move over to my tax account, right? And it would just be sitting there. So when the tax man came,
that first year we were shocked.
So
because you got to remember, before we were just W-2 people, we'd run down and do our taxes as fast as we could, so we get our refund.
We love tax
we had
time.
a bunch of kids,
It's like, oh yeah,
We're like, $5,000, $8,000.
That was like our sports savings account. And a lot of people do that, and that's awesome. Tax time's awesome for them. But one thing you do need to know is when you do open your business, tax time's not so fun no more.
Oh my God!
Because especially if you're a sole proprietor and you haven't paid your estimate, you're gonna have a nice little bill. So. That was an eye-opening experience for us the first year. We ran down and incorporated real quick after that. So
you're not going to say the amount?
What? No, it's not done.
So if someone was starting a business,
okay, I will.
If someone started a business today, what would you recommend them not to start a sole prop or LLC?
I would say start a sole prop. So I tell this to my clients now, and I deal with like hundreds of small business owners all the time. Start as a sole prop because it's the cheapest. You want to have a proof of concept in your business first. Now, if you start with money coming in, if you got outside investors and stuff like that, and there's VC involved, which down here we don't get too much of, we're mostly bootstrapped in Coachella Valley. we start on our own and we do it ourselves. That's our culture. That's the business culture down here. But if you're doing it that way, if you're doing a bootstrap situation where you're starting and you don't know what you're going to do, just be a sole proprietor, because it's the cheapest way to go. It's going to save you the money on going and filing with the state and stuff like that. Now, if you see that that's taken off and your business is growing and your bank account's growing, then there is that reflection point where maybe we need to look at an LLC or S corp. And basically what that is it separates you from the business. Makes you just the president or CEO of the business. It doesn't make you the business. As a sole prop, you are the business, and you're subject to self-employment tax. But that's a different podcast. But I would definitely suggest if you open your business and it booms, then we need to do something to get rid of that tax liability in the S corp. I love the small S corp.
Well, okay, but the reason, another reason we didn't open up as an S corp right away was because it costs $850.
And it costs,
right?
But then you got to file the return, which is another $1,500. So it's about $2,000.
So we kind of were like, we didn't
pay $2,000.
Yeah, we're like, no, let's say
we weren't there yet because we didn't know what she was going to do.
You didn't believe in me, just admit
it. We didn't know what you were going to do, but then when you did it, we're like, oh, we better change this real quick because I don't want to go through this again. So
no, so our first tax bill was $25,000, and I was like, say what? But I remember sitting at Sloan's like, what are you like? I mean, we got slapped in the face with that. I was like, what did you do? Like, what happened? I thought you were, that
we're
kind of thing.
Again.
We're broke again. God damn it. Yeah, exactly. So get out the fucking top ramen. But we had the money because we saved and saved and saved, right? So thank God we did that, So those are things that I think was a plus. We would not have paid that had we been an S corp, but whatever, it is what it is. We learned and immediately we incorporated after that. So. And
then from that warehouse. How long did it take you to move on? Because right now you guys ended up moving to a bigger space, right?
So I don't know how, but we had this guy come into my place, Harold Schultz. He said, hey, I have a place for rent on Highway 111, and I think it would be perfect for your place. So we went to go look at it. Do you want to talk about that place?
I was like, oh, hell no. This is a dump. It's been empty for...
I have pictures of it.
Remember, this is 2013, so 2008 wiped out a bunch of commercial spaces on Highway 111. So this building had been empty for like 5 years. And it was tore up.
It was pretty bad.
It was like nobody had been in there. It looked like a vagrant might have been in there.
But it had like warehouse space in the back,
and
right? It wasn't even a warehouse. It wasn't even a warehouse. It was
a yard.
It was a freaking yard. Yeah, it was like a little shack. So.
But it was on Highway 111, frontage road.
And I always knew that I wanted to be on 111 because I didn't have money for advertisement. So I was like, there's thousands and thousands of cars that go down the street. That'll be my advertising, right? So Bobby was like, this place is a dump. And I was like, oh no. Like, I can already see what I can, I can always see the potential in something, right? I'm like, this is a great space. So we got it. My rent doubled, right? First I was paying $600 and then I went to $1,200 and we were like, can we pay that? Can we do it? And, but we did. We just, we did. And so I think one of the things that I've done and been smart about in my business, because I've made many mistakes, but the one thing was I never bit off more than I could chew. So I didn't just go out and get this huge freaking place showroom that, and did it up to the nines and I never did that. I always did it in increments that I felt comfortable with, right? Because that's just stressful.
Yeah.
So we got that place, and then we hired our first employee, Joseph. And he's still with me today. 10 years later, he's my GM and he's my ride or die. I tell him, and we fight like cats and dogs. It's awesome. Our employees go, Mom and Dad, stop. But he's been with me. But we started there, and then the building next door to me became available. Do you remember the lady next door? She was selling like knockoff purses.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And she ended up like
Fucci.
Fucci
purse.
Yeah, the knockoff stuff. Yeah,
Fucci
that's right.
So she ended up leaving, and I said to the owner, "Hey, I want the place next door." And he was like, okay. So again, I doubled my rent again, right? But I was still on 111, and we literally just bust through the walls in 2 areas. We made an entryway, and then we made a really big area. Remember that?
Yeah. Double our space instantly.
Yep. And then, I did tile installations on the floor, and I mean, I was able to show more vendors. Like, it was a good thing. And then our business just kept growing and growing, and I couldn't believe it. Then we really did start growing out. Oh, then I got my first forklift.
That's a big.
You know what? So when we moved to the first place on 111 and doubled our rent, I bought a forklift.
No more unloading pallets on my.
My poor baby.
Yeah,
thank you,
awesome.
honey. That's why I married you, because you're a big brute.
That was the best day right there when we got the forklift.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, and it was a big expenditure, right? It was like $5,000. And I was like, oh my God. And that thing is older than dirt.
We still have that forklift.
We still have that forklift to this day.
They're like cockroaches, man. They go forever.
But I mean, it was great, because now all of a sudden, I mean, you got to remember, I had tile guys come into my place, so they were pissed when they had to like load up their own stuff.
Yeah.
Right? They're used to just backing up when we
the
load
truck,
up,
yeah.
And away they go. It was not the case at my place, so it was like, So I had to address that. And then I remember guys would come and they're like, oh, we're here to pick up. Well, who's going to drive the forklift? And I'm like, you're looking at her. I drive the forklift, so I did everything, right?
Yeah.
We answered phones, we did sales, we did forklifts, we checked in material, you name it.
You sure did.
It was just a wild ride. What else? Okay, so now we're going over to the bigger building.
Well,
where
I mean,
I'm at
but
now.
why do you think what made you guys successful those early days? I mean, anybody. I mean, it's not like you guys had only exclusive lines. What was the magic touch? I mean, because obviously Angel knows you're a name in that world. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that. Like, in the early days? What was your secret sauce? Like, why did people come to your showroom? Because they could go to other places. They could go to your competitors, and I mean, your prices were the same as everybody else's.
Oh, I got to tell one story. I just remembered when you said that. So when Mission Tile West took off, right? I was opening my own place. There's this one vendor, I love her, called KJP. She's the only person in the world that does this tile, right? And I called her and said, hey, I really want your tile line in my new place, can you send me some boards, like what, whatever. And she was like, well, what makes you think you can sell it if you couldn't sell it with Mission Tile West?
Ooh, that's right.
Wow, she said.
Yeah. And I said, well, I'll tell you, their fucking margins were too high.
Yeah.
Everybody loved your stuff.
Yeah.
I said, everybody loved your stuff, but the margins are just too high. I said, believe me, I can sell your tile. She goes, you know what? Call me back in 6 months. And I was like, this bitch. I was like, but I love her to this day. She's and I put on my calendar 6 months later, and I called her and said, 6 months, I'm in business. And she sent me her product. And it's great. And I've been selling her product ever since. But so I think one of the things is I'm ambitious, right? Like, I'm going to go and I'm going to get that sale.
But you made a good business decision to say, hey, I can sell these high-end lines, but I got to bring that margin down. Because Mission Tile West, they had beautiful, everybody wanted their stuff. Sure. But when they got the price tag, they had sticker shock. Okay, let's go to find something cheaper, So you immediately.
What kind of material was it? Was it like
hers?
Yeah.
Was a stoneware. So it could go indoor, it could go anywhere. And it's beautiful. So anyway, I've been selling her products. But I think when you say, like, what has made me different, I think, number one, our selection is the best in the Valley. Absolutely. We're very, very knowledgeable about our products. And I'm kind of anal in the fact that I remember I had one client who came in and was like, oh yeah, we're going to put this in our pool. And I was like, you can't put that in a pool. Shit's gonna disintegrate on you, right? And I'm very vocal and I'm very authentic, which I'm told. So just that's good, right?
Honest, yeah.
You gotta be honest. Yeah. I always say, I'm not there for the short sale. I'm there for the long haul. I won't just sell you something to make a quick dollar. I'm not that person. And I said, I'm not selling this to you. You can go buy it somewhere else, but I will not sell this to you if you're gonna put it in a pool. And I got the pool guy calling me fucking pissed. like, what, and I just said, dude, go buy it somewhere else. Like I can't do that. I can't sleep at night. And he ended up calling me like years later and apologizing, and we do business today. But I'm one of those. I think I'm very, very detailed. Like, well, where is this going? No, this can't go there. What have you. And it's more about educating people. And I think once they know, I think it's my knowledge. I think that I know a lot about the product.
You're good at what you do. You're good at design, and you're good at identifying what can go where, and making it look good. I mean, you got to make it look good, right? That's your thing.
So I think,
right?
I've got an eye too, and so that's always fun. And I love what I do. I absolutely love that part. And
Do you love the towel industry, everything? Huh? And so you started off because you said you got offered a job at a towel place in the beginning just to answer phones. So like your trajectory from just entering into that world versus now you're dominating in that world, like. Do you ever think like how your life could have been different if you would have maybe worked at a different job and maybe a different career? Like it's crazy sometimes. Right? Sometimes you don't even know where something leads you. It's just you're getting exposed to that world because you probably before that I don't know, maybe you probably didn't even think about flooring or showers.
No, I never did, absolutely. But I just knew that I loved it. The moment I got there, I just we could do this, we could do that, and I just always have done that. So.
Yeah, and you're creative, so I think anything you would have done would have been creative. I still don't see it. You're definitely creative.
What's your favorite part?
I deal with you every day. I know you're a creative. You're a creative mind.
What's your favorite part about design or just the industry in general?
I think seeing somebody walk through my doors that is just going to start a brand new project and the world is ours, right? Like we can make that house look like anything. And that's what's really cool. Like we do all the spec houses out at Thermal Club, and it's like, hey, this house is going to sell, and it's like, what do we want this one to look like? Should we do it all black and white? Should we do it this? I mean, it really truly is like, it's awesome just seeing something come into life and making it look beautiful. And we also want it to be sustainable, right? We want it to kind of last the test of time, and I love all that. I love it. I love seeing it all come together. I love answering all the questions. I love working with the tile guys. I just love the whole design industry. So. And
what kind of projects are you excited that you're currently working on right now? Like.
Oh God! Well, right now it's all about the Shag House for Modernism Week, who is what I worked on with the actual artist Shag. I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but his paintings look like you walked into a Jetsons movie, right? Like everybody's holding a martini and the background's purple and there's a rock wall. It's a very mid-century modern type of photography and artistry. So this house, it's like you walked into one of his paintings. It is crazy, one of a kind, never seen before, epic home.
Yeah.
So, he came to my showroom. He was like, I think I want to use subway tiles in the shower, but I want them to, be orange, green, and blue. Okay. So then it was up to me to kind of like narrow down the things and work with vendors that it's like, hey, we're going to be working on this really cool house. Can you donate anything by chance? Well, so it was one of those things, but also like just finding the right floor for this house, and because our name's going to be on it, and this house has been in the LA Times recently. It's in Palm Springs Life. We're going to be hosting
UK Times, like they're writing about this in London. This house.
Wow,
yeah.
that's
it's a big deal.
It's a really
like
big
those
deal.
of us not in the design world are like, what the heck are you talking about? But people in the know, they know this thing's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
But also, your own line is in there, right?
Right. Oh, so that's one other thing.
Do you have your own line of towel now?
I do. So my husband, and it was really, Bobby, that's what's really great about him is he really pushes me. Like parts of me, I'm like, let's go, right? But my husband on other things, I'm like, and he's like, you need to design your own tile line because that's going to always separate you even more from your competition. And I was like, I get people that come in my showroom that always want pool tile that doesn't look like pool tile.
Yeah.
They don't want to see a 6x6 blue tile and like they're over it, right? So I designed something, and one of my friends, he manufactures tile, And so I collaborated with him, and he was like, yeah, send me the CAD drawings. We sent it to him, and we've produced it. And it was, some of the images I've taken from my childhood, some are from my travels, or just whatever is kind of inspiring. Like one of the tiles is like a cute mermaid's tail, one is like popsicles, because I was thinking pool, and one of the other great things about that tile line is if you purchase that from me, a portion of the proceeds are going to go to any local community or charity here in
nice.
Your name, right?
Yeah.
So whoever purchased it will be in their name. Because I've always, we've always been about giving back to the community, always, always. And I think that's another part of our success is that we always give back. You have to. You just, that if you're put in some sort of position, you should always give back, because it will, not that it will come back tenfold to you, but you're just putting out
putting
good
the energy. Yeah,
absolutely.
energy. Yeah.
So like we like, for instance, I'm hosting a private cocktail party at the Shag House during Modernism Week, and it's going to be in benefit of Fine Food Bank. So hence, we do that for local community people here around here.
And this so this is your first line. Are you currently maybe working on future lines, or you're like thinking of going certain routes? Like, does that like give you like more motivation to step into like your own design as well?
Yes. So I forgot to name the tile. It's called Fantastic by Fina, because everybody would call me, hey, how you doing? I'm fantastic. And it just kind of stuck. So yes, I'm constantly producing new tile lines, but have I like put them into effect? Not really. I haven't. That's one thing I need to do more of.
You got to carve out some time to expand the line a little bit,
But I do have like other vendors of mine saying, oh, did it stop?
No, keep going.
Oh, okay. But I do have other vendors that are like, hey, will you make a tile line for us? And I'm like, sure, but have I done it? No, so it's just, I need more time to do it, right now I'm like, I got to sell to keep our business going. But that's something I want to do. And then I also was approached, I've actually been approached a couple times now. Other manufacturers or distributors that I sell for are like, hey, I just had one the other day, say, hey, so this is your tile line. I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, who's distributing it for you? And I'm like, me, myself, and I, girl. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm the only one doing it. And she goes, well, what if we distributed it for you?
Oh, wow. Nice.
And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet, right?
That's a whole different business.
That's a whole different animal that I know nothing about, right? I mean, I know it with my friend, but I don't know it because obviously we would have to produce it to bring the cost down, because right now it's about $100 a square foot. But it's quarry tile and it can go in a pool, and if it can go in a pool, it can go anywhere.
Anywhere, yeah.
Right? Because that's like the hardest place. So we even put that in our own spa. Because I had to put my money where my mouth was. I had to make sure my product worked. I had to make sure it withheld cleanings and our sun and whatever. So it's in our pool. It's doing great. So I'm very proud of that. Yeah.
And then now, so where can people follow up and check out your work, and where can people go into? Where's your showroom located, and where can people find you?
So we're in Palm Desert, off Highway 111. And then I'm also in Palm Springs off Tahquitz Canyon. Tahquitz, somebody just told me, but we're there. I'm on social media everywhere, Tile Designs by Fina, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, the usual suspects.
Yeah.
But let me tell you about expanding into Palm Springs. So we had this gentleman come down from San Luis Obispo or something, open up, and Bobby and I had been talking about opening up in Palm Springs. If I'm in Palm Springs and Palm Desert and I have Acto, like for instance is one of my tile lines, right? And if I'm in both locations and Joe Blow Tile comes to town in Palm Springs and they want to open up with Acto, Acto's going to say, sorry, we already have Tile Designs by Fina. Mm-hmm. So I knew that I needed to lock in my territories, right? So
controlling your vendors is a big part of her business. Like you gotta be, because your vendors can go online and sell to anybody. People can shop you, so a big part which we found out early on is that you have to be able to control your vendors and have loyal vendors to you.
Oh,
Otherwise, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
So Palm Springs was part of
always part of the plan. It was always
and
part of the
controlling
plan for
vendors.
sure. So one of my vendors calls me and says, Tabarka calls me and says, hey, this guy from San Luis Obispo is opening up in Cathedral City, and they want to open up with our tile line. She said to me, is there room for one more in the sandbox? Right? In other words, like, I have another person that's going to sell this product that you already sell. I go, absolutely, there's not room for anybody in the sandbox, because I told her, you know, nobody else knows this, but I'm opening up a place in Palm Springs. Oh, you are? Yeah. I go, yeah, you know, we're working on it right now. Okay, all right, I'm not going to open them up. And I said to him, fuck, now we got to open up a place in Palm Springs. Literally, I had no place to go.
Yeah.
Right? So I said, well, here it is. I've always kind of been pushed to do things, and I'm a risk taker, right? I'm a risk taker. My husband's like, oh, God damn it, she's on another roll, right? So we found a little tiny place. This was in March. Oh, my God. We rented a place in March right on Palm Canyon. Perfect. The cutest little place. It's like 1,000 square feet. Summertime came around. It had no AC.
Oh, wow.
Well, it had AC, but it didn't work.
I don't know. I don't think it had AC.
It had AC, but it wasn't.
I don't think so.
Wasn't very good.
But so I was like, oh my God. Well, in March the weather's beautiful. So I had no idea, right? Anyway, so we ended up opening up that and learning the Palm Springs market was a completely different beast than we were used to, you know, because when we first opened up that store, my thinking was, we're going to put in all this gorgeous, beautiful high-end tile that nobody else has seen and that kind of thing. And, you know, they don't know what they want until we show it to them, because remember, our friends for the cabinet people had said, Palm Springs is a fantasy land. That store is never going to sell what you sell in your other store. And I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
She goes, no, Palm Springs, she goes, they're cheap. And I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, they're all looking for a bargain. She goes, you are not. She goes, you're just not going to sell that. And I was thinking, bullshit, I'm going to sell it, right?
Yeah.
And so, so we showed the product, and everybody loved the product in Palm Springs, but nobody bought it. So we were like, we got to do something here, right? So what we ended up doing was we did end up moving to a different location, and it was the best because now this place had tons of parking. It had front and you know, for front entrance, back entrance. It was just more visible.
A lot of foot traffic.
A lot of foot traffic, right? And we narrowed down our selection in that store, and we really took a look at all the vendors we had and narrowed it down to some of our least expensive vendors, but still had really nice stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of was the secret sauce for that store. That store has, you know, it's tripled what it used to. And so that was a good move on our part, is just learning, you know.
Learning the market. Yeah.
And
adjusting to the market.
You're 20 minutes away, and it's a completely different world.
Different.
It's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah. So that's how the Palm Springs market came to be. You know, and what's crazy is that guy wanted to shut us down. The guy that was coming to town, he wanted to take our vendors like Sonoma. He wanted those vendors to shut us down because he was some big bad shit that was up in wherever. Boom, 8 months later, he's out of business. And guess who's buying his boards from him? I am. So I bought his boards, and that's what I added to my Palm Springs showroom.
Yeah.
So it's just a funny little way of how things work out.
The universe pushes you to do things you
just never really know what's going to happen. And
no, that's amazing to go from, like you say, from that to just dominating the tile space. And what about like big box stores like Floor & Decor opening up? Do you ever see any pushback? Because
now I have to sage the place because you said Floor & Decor, but no, the big box stores, you know, they really are our friends. It can work for us or against us in some instances. You know, if the margins are too low, But we have flyers that we give out to all the big box stores, and they refer us business all the time.
Oh, nice.
And the reason being is because people come in there and they don't find what they're looking for. If they're looking for a specific orange, they're like, go see Fina.
Yeah.
Just go see her. You got to see this person or whatever. We've got people from the big box stores shopping at my place for their own homes. And so that's actually been a really great resource for us, is the big box stores, and they help us out. We do business with them all the time. The F&D one that you mentioned,
the 99-cent
fucked
store.
and dangerous. I mean, no.
The 99-cent store with tile.
Yeah, it's like the 99-cent. I mean, I can understand why it's appealing to people, but man, if anybody knows what Thassos marble is, it should be all white. It should not have gray running through it, yellow running through it, or pink running through it. And it should not be $8.99 a square foot. So things like that, if you don't give a shit and you could care less about quality, that's your place. But I've had several people come in, installers all the time, like, oh, I tell this client, if it came from there, your shower is going to take me, 2 more days to finish because these tiles are not exactly the same size, the caliber's off, whatever. But then you have those people that just are all about the dollar, and that's fine, but that's not really my market.
Yeah.
So no, that's how I feel about that.
Okay. So what's next for Tile Designs by Fina? Now you have the Palm Desert store, Palm Springs. Are you looking to expand? What's like the next step for you?
But anyway, so now I have artistic tile showroom within my showroom. I have porcelanosa showroom within my showroom. And so again, that kind of just sets me apart from any of my competitors. Our showroom's like 4,500 square feet inside, and we also have that outside. So one of the things we're going to tackle this year is we're going to start showcasing countertops out back.
And build a slab yard.
Yep.
And nice.
Yeah, because we really want
quartz, prefab, everything.
Probably.
Oh.
I don't know about prefab quite
Just
yet.
full
for
slabs.
sure porcelain. I think porcelain's kind of the way things are going to go.
Oh, it's heading that direction big time.
Absolutely.
I've seen it everywhere.
Right. And quartz, so anyway, that's kind of our plans, and my husband's going to really, he's actually going to help me kind of spearhead that, because I've just got so much going on, I can't do it all. And he's really, really great about putting in processes and keeping me on task, honestly. So, yeah, that's what we're excited for.
That's awesome. Now, I get a lot of, we do a lot of quartz stuff too, so that's, or kitchens.
But aren't you hearing about like the fabricators getting sick from like the dust?
I know.
See, and that's why
it's a little scary,
Yeah, that's why people are saying they're getting rid of the quartz and going to porcelain now.
Yeah, and porcelain, you get these nice, just like the glazed, and
I can go indoor, outdoor.
Indoor,
So
outdoor,
that's
and
the
quartz you
plus.
had to be inside, and then granite's kind of outdated sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah, it's natural stone.
Too busy.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it depends on the style, but
Sure.
yeah, for sure, porcelain is the way we see it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so okay, so how do you find time for your family with all these businesses and
Family? What family?
No. Well, we just do. My showroom closes at 4, and that's for a reason. So I'm home by 5.
Oh, nice.
And we Bobby and I go to the gym quite often, and we take our son and we spend time with him there. Our other son is a huge athlete, so we're always at football games or basketball. We're always at something.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then we definitely take weekends and go do things, and yeah.
Take trips and
You have
Absolutely.
to carve out that family time.
Yeah,
But
no.
it's important because our kids, we got grown kids and we got some still in the house, and it goes by so fast.
But one of the
Blink
things
and then
that we've done too is dinner time. We are at our table, no phones, and we sit at our table and we all have dinner together,
Yeah.
always.
Yep.
So,
yeah, no phones. I like that.
Yeah. I think that us as like a Hispanic community that I came from didn't know jack about how to do any of that stuff. And that's something that I think I can help out with my community.
All right, well, thank you for joining us on CV Hustle, guys. You can follow us on Instagram, CV Hustle 760. Facebook, same thing. We're going to be on YouTube. We're going to be everywhere. So
are.
like and subscribe if you like the show. If you found some value in it, go ahead and subscribe and check us out for the next one. Thanks.
Thank you.